This is Turd Flinging Monkey. I've been working on another video, but I wanted to respond to some recent events happening the last couple days. It all started when Sandman made a video about Stardusk, and that kicked off yet another round of the factions of MGTOW. Now in this video, I'm showing some personal footage I took of me playing Team Fortress 2, and I'll talk about why that's relevant in a moment. But I typically avoid this kind of e-drama because I have this belief, and I'll share it with you now. It's better to focus on what we have in common than our differences. For example, every time Sandman says the wrong thing or does something wrong, I get private messages from people telling me that I need to repudiate him, that I need to stop supporting him, that I need to stop associating with him. And I really don't see the benefit in that. Just to cut someone off for making any sort of mistake. Like, we all have the beam in our eye. Now, I've made this statement a while ago. I think it might have been even before I even had a YouTube channel, when I was just commenting on other MGTOW videos. But Sandman has a role. And his role is he helps people discover MGTOW to begin with. He is like, I believe the analogy I used before was a kindergarten teacher. He takes these people in the blue pill world and he introduces them to MGTOW concepts. And that's what he's very good at. That's what his strength is. That's how he serves the community. Now then you have people like Stardusk and myself and other people like that who kind of ask some of the big questions about human nature, about what it means to be a man, what masculinity is, trying to discover and learn more about themselves, about humanity, human nature, male and female nature, etc. Now you need both of these for MGTOW to grow. If you don't have people like Sandman introducing MGTOW to blue pill men, then MGTOW stagnates because you don't have any new men joining it. You don't have any new men discovering it. Now, if you only have people like Sandman introducing MGTOW to the world, bringing all kinds of people into MGTOW, introducing them this new way of thinking, but you don't have anyone doing the intellectual research in the background, then at best you're going to wind up with some kind of cult, like those people who thought the world was going to end because of the Mayan calendar. It may make a big splash, it may be big for a while, but it's eventually going to fizzle out after its 15 minutes are up. And I don't want MGTOW to be an internet meme that's really big for a while and then goes away, because it has the potential to be transformative. Not like for society. Society is screwed. I'm talking about for the individual men. Now the reason I think that the Team Fortress 2 footage I'm using is important is the importance of roles, even in the absence of leadership. Now in Team Fortress 2 there's no leader class. Nobody is the assigned leader of any team. When you join a team, especially on a public server, you just kind of join the team, you pick whatever class you want. Now ideally you want to look at what everyone else is doing, and you want to fill the role that maybe no one else is filling that they need to be filled. You want to kind of balance your team. And this is a concept that I think a lot of people struggle with, and in which causes a lot of this e-drama. So if Sandman is like a kindergarten teacher, teaching, young blue pill minds, molding them into the MGTOW of the future, Stardusk is like the college professor / researcher that's kind of on the cutting edge, asking the big tough questions, trying to discover more things, and they're both important. They both have important roles to fill for the overall movement. So neither is better or worse or more important, less important. They're both important, they're just different. And this respect for differences is really what I think is lacking in these debates. Now, a while ago, I talked about the importance of respecting self-actualization as a way to minimize drama and infighting. But I also think that within a movement, you have to respect different roles. And that just because your role is different doesn't make you better or worse than someone else with a different role. Just to use another Team Fortress 2 example, right now I'm playing Soldier. Soldier's role is that he has a bazooka, so he can put a lot of damage on a target, but the soldier is also fairly slow. So he needs other classes to kind of do things. He also doesn't have the most hit points. So there's all these different roles that other people in the team need to fill. The soldier can't do it all alone. And if everybody plays soldier, it's not going to work out well because there's going to be some gaps that aren't going to be filled by anyone because the soldier isn't the best at everything. The soldier needs the medic, the heavy, the scout, the sniper. To have a balanced team, you got to have these different classes be filled by someone who knows what they're doing. You still have to have that organization. You still have to have roles that need to be filled. If we were all academics and intellectuals, and we didn't have people like Sandman kind of marketing our message to the masses and breaking it down into bite-sized chunks for people to consume, the movement would really kind of slowly die out, or would eventually be co-opted by something more marketable. Because the average person is kind of dumb. It's not that it's their fault. I mean, the schools are terrible. And brainwashing and social engineering is a thing. But we have to be cognizant that, if you take a Stardusk video or a Barbarossa video or a Razorblade Candy video that talks about the really deep intellectual and philosophical underpinnings of MGTOW, the average man isn't going to get it. Not at first. They have to kind of build up to that level. It's like the whole milk before meat thing. So Sandman and channels like Sandman are like the milk. And it's not, I know I'm picking on Sandman a lot, but there are a lot of other channels like that. But basically, channels about men talking about their experiences, talking about how their ex-wife screwed him over, or this ex-girlfriend screwed him over, and how, this and that. Personal stories that speak to men directly and that the average man can connect with. Those are the channels I'm talking about. These are channels that reach men on the front lines. Now, once men kind of understand that they're not alone in this situation, that there is a problem, then they want to understand the problem better. That's when they graduate to the more academic and intellectual channels. But you need to have both. You can't just have one and not the other. So this whole kind of factionalism within MGTOW, where people who think that MGTOW should be more kind of marketing to mainstream and trying to appeal to the average man and making it bigger, and the people who think that it should be more about research and academia and making it more rigorous and intellectual. The problem is when you think that that's all it should be, or that one should be more central than the other, that's when the problems begin. You need to have both. It's not a question of one or the other. It's not a question of one should be more important than the other. It's a question of roles. Certain channels, if your strength, and you know who you are, if your strength is to ask the big questions, to do the research, to find the answer, and to present your answers in a way that is engaging, and that's your strength, then that's what you should do. If that's not your strength, and your strength is to take very basic concepts and make them engaging to the average person, help introduce them to basic MGTOW concepts, to introduce them to the community as a whole, where they can then graduate onto other channels and content, then that's what you should do. And that is what Sandman does very well. He's very good at speaking to the very basic concepts of MGTOW. And he's very good at reaching a large amount of people because he puts a lot more production into his works. And he does this because he has a lot more practical experience with production. And it really would be a shame to lose him, or to drive him away or whatever, to lose the skills he brings to the table. Now, where Sandman falters is when he makes a lot of baseless assumptions, doesn't back anything up with evidence or research or citations. So his videos would be torn apart by someone like Teal Deer, who would just be saying citation needed after every other sentence. So my constructive criticism for Sandman is to stick to what you're good at. Stick to the basic concepts. Try to kind of hammer those home in different ways. Now, I understand that you make videos every single day, and it's going to be hard to kind of repackage these same basic concepts in different ways all the time. So what I advise you to do, and this is going to sound really weird, is look at Sesame Street. Sesame Street's been around for thousands of episodes, and yet they only cover numbers 1 through 20 and the alphabet. And they cover those hundreds of different ways. So think about that. Think of like the basic concepts of MGTOW, the concepts that lead the average blue pill man on the road to MGTOW. And try to repackage those concepts in different, fresh ways. The way Sesame Street has repackaged numbers and letters in different ways to make them engaging for decades. It can be done. I think that's what you're good at, and that's what you should stick to. Where you falter is when you try to go off into the intellectual and the academia because you don't have the research or the citations or really the time to conduct the research that would be required to meet the standards of the people who specialize in that field. So don't even try. Just stick to what you know, stick to what you're good at. Now, my constructive criticism to other channels that do a lot of academic research and do a lot of intellectual pursuits is you have to make your videos shorter, and you have to use like different inflection and not be so monotone. Now, Stardusk has a very sexy, deep voice, but it's very monotone. Now, I'm going to kind of give you two examples. I'm going to say one sentence in one way, and I'm going to say it a different way, or I'm going to say two different sentences. All right, so I'm going to talk like this, and I'm going to say things in a very monotonous way, and you're going to be very bored, and you're going to want to click on a different video because you've now moved on to what I'm saying, and now you're just thinking about something else that's more entertaining to you. Now, what I'm doing is I'm lowering my voice to kind of make a point, but then when I get really passionate, I'm going to raise my voice and I'm going to speed up my inflection And now I'm going to engage you by measuring the speed and the tempo of my speech, lowering it when it's appropriate, raising it when it's appropriate, showing emotion in my voice, making it more engaging to the listener. Now, not everybody can do this, and I do understand if you watch some of my older videos, when I was reading off of a script, I was a lot more monotone. So if that's a problem for you, I'm trying to learn to kind of maybe do more semi-scripted videos. Instead of having the entire script written out, I'm just going to have kind of keywords written out, and I'm going to kind of work off of those notes, but I'm not going to have every word I say scripted. That way I can be more spontaneous and show more emotion. So I think some channels could benefit from something like that. Just showing more emotion, making the audio of your videos more engaging, especially if you don't do anything visual. Now, I try to do like animations in my slideshows, change the picture when it's appropriate to match what I'm talking about at the moment. But a lot of other channels just have one static image for the entire video. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're not going to have anything visually going on, you have to have something in your voice and audio that's somehow engaging. You can't just talk in a monotone the entire video, especially if it's an hour long. That's just holy crap. But my point is that, you know, Sandman gets a lot of shit because he has this background in marketing and business and stuff like that. And so he gets accused of manipulating people using these marketing tactics. And like that's a bad thing, but being an engaging spokesman isn't dishonest. It's the way it is. No one's going to hear your message if they don't like the messenger. If they reject the messenger, they're not going to hear the message. So my final message is just to know kind of what you're good at, know your role. And I don't mean that in a derogatory role like The Rock, like know your role and shut your mouth. I'm just saying understand what you're good at and focus on that. Don't try to turn your weaknesses into strengths. That's a waste of time because at best you're going to be mediocre and you put way too much work into turning a weakness into a mediocre average skill. You would have been better off taking that time to perfect your strengths. So find out what you're good at, and you should know. Once you know what you're good at, what your strength is, what you bring to the table, you want to emphasize that. But you also want to appreciate and respect that not everybody is going to be the same as you. You're going to have people who are more intellectual and academic, who can do the research, who can ask the questions, who can kind of help you think in different ways, and that's their role. And then you're going to have people who can communicate those ideas to the general population to help grow the movement. And then you're going to have the people who contend with the opponents of MGTOW, like MRAs, traditionalists, and feminists. And we all need each other. We all need each other. We all benefit from having the other in the group. There's no reason to be exclusionary. There's no reason to form factions. There's no reason to try to get rid of the other people or to tell people that they shouldn't associate with this person. I always address issues and not people. I don't want to get into a spitting contest or a dick measuring contest with another MGTOW about who's better, who's worse, who's right, who's wrong. I don't want to talk about personalities. I want to talk about issues. If I'm right, I'm right. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I've been proven wrong before. I will accept and I will admit when I've been proven wrong. I don't have any ego or pride about this. I don't give a shit. So, and there are some things where I really want to be proven wrong. When I talk about society collapsing and millions of people dying, and that's the only way this is going to end, I really, really want to be proven wrong. Please prove me wrong. But if you're going to address one of my videos and you're going to prove me wrong, talk about the issues. If you're going to leave a comment on one of my videos just calling me a virgin, a closet homo, whatever, that's your angle, that's how you're going to address me, I'm just going to ignore you. I'm not even going to respond to you. If you're going to make a response video about me, I'm going to watch it. I'll see what you're about. If it turns out you're just full of shit and you're just trying to get attention for your own channel, I'm just going to ignore you. I'm not even going to bother responding to you because who gives a shit? I'm not trying to start e-drama. I'm not trying to get views by starting a shouting match over YouTube. I really don't give a shit. If you have a problem with someone, attack their ideas, attack where you think they're mistaken, but be respectful to them. I think if we respect our differences, I think if we understand our roles, I think that really just would alleviate most of the problem. But then beyond that, just personal attacks need to stop. And you really should not make any accusations against someone without any evidence. You know, if you're going to say this person, this is their secret agenda that they want to do, then you need to have some evidence. If you have if you're going to make an extraordinary claim, you need extraordinary evidence. If you have no evidence, and this is just some like hunch you have, then you need to say, I have no evidence for this, but this is how I feel. And don't be surprised when your feelings are dismissed as bullshit. Now, if you have evidence, submit your evidence. If you don't have evidence, I really am not going to take you seriously. And I'm going to lose respect for you by making baseless assertions about someone. And I think people really should be above that. We're all adults here. MGTOW is a place for men. It's a place that respects men. And we shouldn't be acting like a bunch of clucking bitches, talking shit and starting drama, like running off to the girl's bathroom and talking shit about people behind their back. That's what bitches do. That's not what men do. So let's be men. Let's talk about our differences in a respectful way. Let's hammer it out. If you're wrong, who gives a shit? You know what? If you prove me wrong, I will thank you for proving me wrong. Because if I'm wrong, I want someone to show me that I'm wrong so that I can be on the side of truth. I'm not going to get defensive like, oh, how dare you? How dare you prove me wrong? I'm going to thank you because I want to be right. I want to be on the side of truth. And if we all have that mindset, if we just want to be right more than we want to be important or thought of as great, I don't really give a shit. I'm just a chimpanzee on the internet. And I really respect pretty much all the people I know in MGTOW. We don't have anything to gain, and we're risking a lot by doing this because we care and we want to help. If we just wanted to make money on YouTube, there's a lot of other things we could be talking about that would bring in a lot more views. So I don't think anybody is doing this as some sort of business model. Anyway, this video has been completely unscripted. I've just been kind of talking off the seat of my pants because this is an issue that I see just keeps coming up. It comes up every once in a while, and just when you think it's kind of gone down, it gets brought up again. We need the academics and the intellectuals to push MGTOW forward, and we need people like Sandman and people who are good at reaching out to the average man, the blue pill man, the non-MGTOW man, and bringing them in and sharing them and helping them and saving them. Both of these roles are very important. Neither is better, neither is worse. They both need the other if MGTOW is going to grow. Now, whether MGTOW growth is a priority to you, it may not be. And if there is some kind of formal split within MGTOW where you have different camps that don't even talk to each other, first of all, I think that would be a horrible, horrible disservice to the community if you had a split where the academics and intellectuals did this completely different thing and didn't associate with the people trying to grow MGTOW from the outside in. I think that would hurt the movement as a whole. But then also because I reject tribalism, I would have to reject that split as well. I would have to be some kind of independent, neutral, foot in both camps kind of guy. So I'm not sure what else there is to say. I really wish this would just stop. I wish we would just have a healthy respect for the different roles that we play, our different strengths and weaknesses. I wish we wouldn't keep trying to compare ourselves to other channels or trying to have like a dick measuring contest based on the number of subscribers. So like the number of subscribers doesn't mean you're better or worse than anyone else. It just means more people find your content more engaging. And ironically, the people who are going to have the more basic videos that appeal to a larger audience are probably going to have more subscribers anyway, just as a default. Just think about it. Every child goes through kindergarten, but not every child goes to college. So you're going to have more numbers at the lower levels than at the higher levels. It doesn't make one better or worse. So they're just different roles. They're both part of the education apparatus. They're just different roles. They're not better or worse. They're just different. And we need to respect those differences and appreciate how each one benefits from the work and the experience of the other. And not trying to kind of separate ourselves in different camps of us versus them, because that's all bullshit. And nobody benefits. Nobody will benefit from any sort of split and factionalism within MGTOW. Now, I'm not saying we should just ignore and let bygones be bygones for the sake of just getting along. But I think we can be respectful about it. I think, Isolate Pretty Lies has made some very cutting, insightful videos criticizing Sandman for some of his baseless assertions he makes in his videos, but he did it in a very respectful way. He cited his sources, he brought forth his evidence, and he just presented a convincing argument. Now, there's no reason to be defensive about that. If he did a video on one of my videos in that same way, pointing out the mistakes I had made, showing the evidence, citing his sources, accusing me of making baseless assertions, stuff like that, I would probably either add annotations to the video he's referring to reflect the corrections, or I might take the video down if it's really bad. But I wouldn't take it personally. I wouldn't call him, my enemy or try to, attack him or do anything like that. I would thank him for taking the time to show me the mistakes I've made, actually. because there have been mistakes. There's actually one of my earliest videos, my part 3 of the 3 types of feminists about the misandric land whale, where I talk about the correlation between giving women the right to vote and the development of a welfare state. There were some welfare states that existed prior to women being given the right to vote, and there were some welfare states that existed and women still have never been given the right to vote, like in Saudi Arabia, where women are just starting to get the right to vote in local elections this year, but they've had a welfare state for decades. So I was wrong in that video, and it was pointed out to me by people in my comments section, which is why I'm very active in my comments section. If you watch the video on a desktop, you can see the annotations, but if you watch it on a mobile device, you won't be able to see them. So I still get the occasional comment of someone correcting me about that mistake. However, I never take that personally. I never get defensive when somebody points out a mistake I've made. In fact, as I've gotten better, I've been more careful about my research, and I've learned from my mistakes, and I've refined my ideas over time. The video I'm working on now, a lot of it has been influenced by comments and research, and just my growth in asking the right questions and refining my ideas. So I think ego has a large part to do with it. Maybe people just don't want to admit that they're wrong. They get defensive, like they feel like they're being attacked personally if their ideas are being attacked. My only advice to that is, if that's how you feel, you really need to just kind of understand that constructive criticism, even if it's not done in a constructive way, if someone's just pointing out your mistakes and calling you a dipshit, that still benefits you. They're correcting. If they're right, if you're wrong and they're right, doesn't matter if they're calling you names and talking down to you and telling you you're full of shit. They're bringing you to the side of truth. They're bringing you truth. And if you care about being on the side of truth, you should listen to them. Don't get defensive. Don't block them and make a response video calling them a piece of shit or anything like that. Yeah, they could have been more respectful. Now, I try to be very respectful to people who point out my mistakes. And I really don't get a lot of trolls on my channel. And if I do, I don't really notice them, because I just assume when people correct me that they're doing it in a genuine way. And if they're right, I'll admit I'm wrong and I'll correct it. I'll either add a note in the description, or I'll add an annotation, or I may take the video down. I haven't had to take any videos down yet, but I will if I'm ever pointed out that this video is absolutely wrong on a fundamental level, and these mistakes are here, and here are the citations and the sources, and here's why you're wrong. Can I look into it and I'm like, oh crap, I'm wrong? I'll take the video down. I don't care. Kind of leave your ego at the door. If you care about the truth more than you care about being right, then you're not going to get offended when somebody points out your mistakes. You'll actually be grateful for it. But also, we should have respect for other people. Not just in a, general sense, like, we should all be respectful to each other. But I think within MGTOW, because we all kind of suffered to be here, I don't think anybody just showed up and like, I'm a MGTOW. They're here for a reason. So we need to respect them just out of a sense of brotherhood. And then understand that they have a strength and a service that they can offer the community that can benefit us. And we should encourage that. And we shouldn't try to trivialize it or rank them as like, oh, well, you're not good at this, well then you're down here, and oh, you're great, you're over here. There's no reason for that. We all have different roles to play. We all have different strengths and weaknesses, and we should just accept that, and we should work within those roles. So that's all I have to say. Again, this video is unscripted. I'm going to do some audio editing, but I don't even remember half the stuff I said. So hopefully it was insightful. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And I hope that it brings some closure and some healing and helps kind of make sense of some of this infighting. And I really want it to stop. I want us all to get along and put our differences aside and work together. And if we can't work together, at least work separately to the benefit of each other. So I'll leave you with that, gentlemen.